Hey everybody, it's your good buddy Spider once again, back with another episode of the show. Let's talk about the madness, ltatm.net, coming to you live from Ohio. Well, it's not live. It would be. I used to do the show live, but the software I use doesn't support live shows anymore, and I am reluctant to change. You might hear some air rushing in the background, like quite a lot of it, because since it is it's summer officially. It officially is here, summer in Ohio, and I don't know if I mentioned it in my last show. I don't remember if I did this then or if I did this after the fact. But we've got the air conditioners in, and because it was upwards of 90-plus degrees here in Ohio. I know there's people in different places like Arizona and Texas being like, 95, that ain't so bad. Wait till it's 103. But it's pretty hot for Ohio. And so the air conditioner is running right now to keep the cats happy. Because you know them, I got to keep them happy. Hopefully they're not going to give me any trouble this time, because the last episode, I remember, I had to get up like multiple times to get after them about things, so I'm gonna hope they're gonna be good this time. But I guess that means you already know what the weather is like. It's hot. It's hot out. I spent time clearing up some stuff in the backyard and cutting down a big tree branch that was drooping a little bit too far into the yard. I've still got some stuff to do out there. It's supposed to storm for the next 7 days, like the entire next rest of this week through the next one. But if not, I'm going to try to get more stuff situated in the backyard. I've got a secret project that I don't want to mention, because there's always the possibility that my daughter will find this podcast. She listens to my family-friendly one, which you can also listen to. It's called Let's Talk About This. Available on Spotify and everywhere else. Shameless plug. But she's smart. She's super smart. I always feel like she doesn't connect directly to Spotify. She listens to the podcast on Apple because she has an iPad, and she uses it for school and for learning and stuff. But she also puts my podcast on there so she can listen to it. But she doesn't have this one on there because it's a grown-up one. But I always feel like maybe she'll figure it out one of these days and she'll end up listening to it. So I don't want to tip her off that this is something I'm doing for her. But let's get into it. Let's get right into some things. Let's talk about there's something new. Like, this podcast and various things that I've talked about on my other outlets. I've talked a lot about the effects of AI, and mostly on entertainment and that kind of thing. I don't know if I mentioned it before. I'm pretty sure I have. I watch the various President's Play YouTube channels. There's a bunch of them. Some of them are good and some of them aren't so great. But basically, somebody They cloned the voices of famous presidents, specifically, usually, Presidents Obama, Biden, and Trump, and they clone their voices, and then they make up new dialogue for them playing video games together. And sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's not. But I'm still watch a lot of that regularly, and that was the only AI thing that I really was into. Well, there was something else they have something new I got to look at, too. I almost didn't think of it. There's another YouTube channel I follow called Neural Viz, V-I-Z. And they're pretty good, too. It's some weird, off-the-wall, sci-fi future story. And saying it like that doesn't do it any justice. It's funny. I want to call it lowbrow humor, but there's so many, like, deep jokes and parodies kind of stuffed in there that you have to be a little bit cerebral kind of to to really truly appreciate it. I'm not saying you have to be smart or a genius or whatever, because it's just an AI YouTube page. But whoever's behind it is super creative. Like, it, not all the jokes are good. Like, not all the jokes are gonna hit right. But the ones that do, they're perfect. They make me laugh. And some neural viz. But the latest thing, and it seems like it just exploded. It just blew up over the last couple weeks. Have you heard about these? Have you heard about the Bigfoot vlogs? The Bigfoot video blogs. There's a bunch of them out there, so I can't point to one channel where it might have all started, or like who was the originator. I've seen different people claim that they did the first ones. I don't believe any of it because, again, I didn't catch it when it first started, so I can't say who I noticed first. And there's varying levels of quality, both visually and dialogue-wise, through a lot of them. So you have to pick and choose what you're going to be interested if you're looking into it. But basically what it is it uses AI to generate Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti, all these, the various mountain creatures known collectively as Bigfoot. And it's a dude, it's basically a Bigfoot, but he talks like anybody else. He talks with modern language and slang and whatnot, and he's got phones that he steals from hikers. And he does videos for people. He does video shorts. And again, some of them are really good. Like, he'll do survival tips. Oh, this is how you do spearfishing, and the AI will try to interpret him spearfishing. And sometimes visually it's excellent, and sometimes it's visually really kind of dumb. But they're everywhere right now. They're huge. The Bigfoot vlogs are like the thing right now. And then people have started to expand from there. People have tried to expand by adding aliens to the Bigfoot vlog, and then of course the Yeti. And so they'll go and they'll get into trouble. They'll go tangle with cartels in Mexico, or they'll go and they'll just visit a restaurant and everybody's looking at them like, oh my gosh, it's Bigfoot, and things like that. And some of them are really well done. I like a few of them. It's hard to just follow a particular channel, though, because again, there's so many of them out there, and most of them don't have a lot of videos, to be honest. Most of them jumped on it after seeing it somewhere else and started doing their own and just pumped out 7 or 8 videos quick, and then didn't keep up with it because it takes a lot of time to do all this. So the gold rush for that is already kind of starting to slow down. Like, the people who started with it got a whole bunch of followers and views and subscribers, and then it's kind of starting to slow down already because of the short attention spans of the internet. But I like some of them. I like the Bigfoot vlogs, for the most part. There are some that are really awful. But again, people are doing like aliens, and then there's somebody else who's doing a Star Wars themed one, where it follows a couple of stormtroopers instead of Bigfoot, and they go to different alien worlds, or they do different things for Darth Vader, and I watched one of those, and it was alright. I think people try too hard to inject a story into some of these, because I think they excel more as like a stream of consciousness kind of just things happen as they happen, and you just roll with it. Not quite as bad as, like, not random things going on all the time. Like, not Family Guy style humor stuff where it's just, let's have a conversation, and then all of a sudden, here's a reference to something. Cut away to something else that's a reference that makes a joke. Cut away back to the thing, and then cut away. I don't think, I'm not talking about that, because I hate that. It drives me nuts. It's whip-snap, like whiplash kind of humor that wears you out. I get bored. But this is more, I like more like spontaneous in a way that, hey, it's me, Bigfoot, I'm doing this thing today, and let's just do it. And then, oh, this weird thing happened while I was out here. I'm not doing it justice. I'm not giving it good description. But I think it's entertaining, and I think the AI is still... There's still plenty of times when it makes it look cartoony, or makes it look like it can't do everything yet. The AI is still not here for it. It's not ready. And that just reminds me of some of the conversations I've had with people, especially several shows back, episode 15, we talked to, if you remember, a member of the writing team from Jack and V. We talked about AI a lot. And I've been playing around with the various search engines. Or not the... I guess I can't call them search engines. The people who do the search engines, like Google and Microsoft and whoever, like Microsoft has Copilot, Google has Gemini, X/Twitter has Grok. All these platforms, they're developed their own question and answer knowledge base AI that's supposed to like troll the internet for the answers and give you an analysis and things of that nature based on trends. And they're all kind of different. They all give you different answers on different things depending. One thing I've noticed, people like to rely on Grok for different things to prove points, but I think Grok can be led like the other ones. I know Musk is publicly upset that people have used it against him to disagree with him on different things, and he's its creator, and he intended it to be a certain way, and it's not, and now he's upset because it's growing in ways that he didn't want it to grow, and, you know. But I think when I've posed questions to it, and tried to engage in different discussions about different things, you can lead the AI down a path where it will inevitably agree with you, pretty much no matter what. And you can also lead it down a path where you can't get it to agree with you on any level because of certain language that you use. And they're all like that. All of the AI, I don't want to call them programs or apps or, I don't know, all the instances of AI, I guess, that are available to the public on the internet for your, like, ChatGPT and all that. You can lead them. You can get them to agree or disagree or argue or coincide. It's not that hard. There's a little bit of back and forth, but you can do it. You just change your language up a little bit. It depends on how convincing you want to be. So I don't think they're as reliable as people think about these kind of things. I don't think they're reliable to the extent that people believe them to be. And so I always have to be suspect of the information that you get from them. And so I always have to verify with other sources and things that aren't AI, which is hard to do now because they've integrated the AI tools into all the major search engines, which is why I initially identified them with search engines. But as far as entertainment value goes, the way people are using them artistically, it can go two different ways. There's a lot of controversy right now about people using AI to create art, because the argument is, well, you didn't really create that, so it's not your art, so you can't say that you're an artist, even though you might have come up with the prompts and things like that. And the other side is, oh, well, you don't, some people can't, they don't know how to paint, or they don't know how to play music, or they don't know how to write, and so the AI is allowing them to get their creative ideas out into the world. So, and I can see both sides of the argument. But I think there's too much of it. And like I said, I do enjoy some of it. I like some of the Bigfoot vlogs. I like the President's Play stuff. I even like some of the songs the people have made with AI. Like, I didn't think I would, but some of them are pretty good, and some of them are done very well. I don't want to admit it, but some of them are pretty good. Will I ever use AI to make my own music? No. I'm not going to do that. I'm too much... For one thing, I'm too much of a control freak on that. I have to be controlling of what I put into it. I have to have a certain level of what I consider quality. I can't hand it to anybody, whether it's a computer or otherwise. I have to be able to tweak settings and to use the samples and to record my voice and all that other kind of stuff. But I think some of those things they're interesting and they're fun. I like some of the AI songs, but I would not want it to replace the work of real people and real artists, personally. But I do like the Bigfoot vlogs, most of them. Some of them, like I said, they're just dumb, and some of them lean too heavily into the pop culture stuff, and the this is basically old man yelling at cloud kind of stuff, but some of the modern day language and slang and things, because there's words that that even now I had never heard of yet. I knew about yeet, I knew about ish, and various things, and drip, and people are gonna be listening to this like, this guy sounds like an old idiot. Well, yeah, we didn't have those when I was a kid, but I know what they are now. I'm not completely ignorant about everything, but some of the other stuff, I don't know. Some of the new stuff, it just, I figured it out. I can parse the language and figure out what they're saying on these things, but it just sounds silly to me. But yeah, the Bigfoot vlogs, AI. What do you think? But do you think AI in entertainment is really where it's at, or do you think it's the stuff like Copilot and ChatGPT and Grok? Do you think that those are really going to be what AI is going to be the best at in the very near future? What do you think? Tell me in the comments. I would love to hear on if you're listening to this on anything that allows comments. You can put comments on Spotify. Believe it or not, you can comment on things on Spotify. They require you to listen to like a few minutes first to make sure that you've listened to it and you're not just dropping hate mail. Because some people will be like, oh, I don't like this person, and I don't like that they're putting stuff out, so I'm just going to put hate onto them. They make you listen to it first, so. But you can add comments, and when this gets to YouTube eventually, you can add a comment, and you can get in on this discussion with me, because I would love to hear. And if you'd rather not have a public comment where everybody can see it, you can drop me an email. Go to official.ltatm@gmail.com. official.ltatm@gmail.com. And tell me what you think about the use of AI in entertainment, especially like on TikTok and YouTube and whatnot. Because I guess a lot of this stuff started on TikTok. I don't use TikTok. I don't go to TikTok. I'm never going to use it. So, but a lot of it's on YouTube now, so I don't have to. But the next item I've got to talk about. The next thing I have to talk about, and I know there's going to be some strong opinions about this. Let's talk about Disney, their live-action remakes. And I know that instantly when people hear me say that, they're thinking I'm going to talk about Snow White, because that's the big controversial one right now. But I'm not. I'm going to talk about the other one that sparked quite a bit of discussion. Let's talk about Lilo and Stitch. Okay? And now everybody's instantly going to be like, oh, I know what this is about, because if you've been tuned into that, maybe you went and saw the new movie. Maybe you've got some thoughts about it. I have not seen the remake. Okay? I have seen the cartoon many, many times because my daughter likes it and it's her mom's favorite Disney movie. So they've watched it several times and I've seen it plenty of times. But I did not watch, and probably will not watch, the live action one. And so now I know some people are going to be like, well, that's clearly a biased opinion, because if you're not even going to give it a chance. And, well, I did kind of want to give it a chance when it first came out, because the initial trailers and things, they looked pretty good. It looked pretty accurate. They'd made some changes, clearly, because they always do. But I was like, all right, well, it looks like it's got the atmosphere. It looks like it's got the tone. Let's give it a try. So, leading up to its release, I started reading the reviews. Because I also want to make sure, for new movies that my daughter might want to see, I want to make sure they're still appropriate. Because Disney has made a bad habit of remaking movies, and I gotta say this carefully, because I don't want people to start thinking I'm on some kind of hate train against Disney. But when they remake these movies, they tend to insert subplots that aren't a part or weren't a part of the original, and they kind of subvert the message in weird ways. Now, I'm not as deep into it as like, oh, they're indoctrinating our children. I'm not saying that, okay? I can't say that there's some deep political meaning to any of this kind of stuff, okay? I'm not going to claim that. I'm not going to make conspiracy theories. I'm not, whatever. And I'm not a hyper-religious person either. I'm not a religious person in general. So it's not like I want to make sure that, I got to make sure my daughter has a religious upbringing, because I don't. She can have whatever upbringing she chooses as far as her spirituality is concerned. It's not a big deal. We don't have pictures of saints or deities or messiahs in my house, because we don't do that, right? Nothing against anybody who does, but we don't do that. We have some different thoughts. And I try my best not to. I try not to indoctrinate my child in any beliefs, because I want her to have an open mind and decide for herself. And if she grows up and decides, you know what, I want to go to church, okay, you can do that. It's your choice. I don't agree with what. I don't mean that to say like I don't think people should be going to church. I mean, I don't go to church, and I'm not going to start going to church, and it's not my thing. But I'm not going to be upset if she decides she wants to do that. It's just not going to be my thing. And we probably won't discuss it much, because we don't really have a common ground on that, right? Or if she decides not to. If she wants to do something different, whatever. So that's not the issue I have. It's just they seem to change core parts of the movies to send a different message. And I can't really say what that message is. I don't really know. It confuses me. It doesn't seem to be a message. I don't know. I'm not sure what they're trying to accomplish with some of these things. Which brings us to Lilo and Stitch. Now, if you have not seen it and you're interested in it, this is going to be a spoiler. Okay? So just know, I'm going to tell you the ending as I've read it. I have not seen it, and this is what... Which, I mean, people are going to be like, well, you should really see it before you make your opinion, but a lot of people who have already seen it have gone extensively over the ending, and I'm pretty certain in how I feel about it. So, but if you haven't, and you don't want the ending spoiled for you, tune out for the next few minutes. because that's your spoiler warning. Spoiler warning. All right, that's all I'm going to give you. Excuse me. But in the original movie, okay, let's start from a baseline. In the original movie, a central theme of the movie is the idea, the Hawaiian idea of ohana. And they explain it in the movie, however accurate that is, that ohana means family, and family means nobody gets left behind or forgotten, which means you stay together. If you're having trouble as a family, you deal with it as a family. You stick together. You don't fall apart. You don't, just cast each other out. You deal with it, and you stay together because that's what family should do. And I know family dynamics are a lot more common, or a lot more complicated than that, right? So I know some people are going to be like, well, my family was horrible to me, and I ran away from them when I was of age, and I never looked back. Okay, I get that. I mean, on my daughter's mom's side, both of her parents are awful people, and we don't associate with either one. We've got them blocked on social media. We don't talk to them. We don't call them. We block them on the phone because they've said horrible things to us. Her father threatened to go to court to take our kid away from us because we wouldn't let him visit because he said he had grandparents' rights, and he's a serial abuser. I don't mean he touches people in weird ways. I mean, in his relationships with adults, he's hurt them, and he's been to jail for it. And he's here threatening to take my daughter away, so of course we don't associate with him. It's been a few years now, so so I understand, not every family is going to be ohana, right? But the moral of the movie is that you try. You try. And at the end of the original movie, they stay together and they bring new people into the family, and everybody's happy. Which is, again, family dynamics are complicated, so it's not all rosy all the time. But still, it's a good message. It's a good message. It's a good lesson. Fast forward to the live action remake. At the end of the live action remake, and this is your spoilers. This is your last chance. Spoiler alert. At the end of this one, the older sister allows herself to be convinced to give up her younger sister into the custody of the state to be placed in a foster home, so that she, the older sister, can go to the mainland United States to study marine biology. Now, the state, right on the spot, places the little girl with friends of the older sister, right? With a friend, a potential romantic interest, and his mother. But it's still the fact that you're breaking up the family. You're breaking it up rather than, like, the whole message of the original movie was how much the older sister fought so hard to be able to take care of her younger sister because they didn't have their parents. Their parents had died in a car crash. And so she wanted to do everything she could to take care of her baby sister. And in the new movie, she willingly gives her up to the state. And there are large problems with this. There are huge problems with this. The whole message that's being sent. And I understand, once again, family dynamics are complicated and situations happen. Is it more realistic? Maybe. But it's a movie about an alien and other aliens that show up and cause havoc. Stitch is an alien from a different planet. He's a created genetic experiment. So you want to take the original premise and make it more realistic? Like, and I've heard people say that, oh, well, it's affirming for women that they don't have to, they can go out and they can still follow their dreams. They don't have to be held back by family because they can make sure their family's taken care of, and then they'll go and do what they want. I don't think that's a great message. This is your baby sister is not old enough to do anything on her own. You are willingly giving her up to be taken care of in the foster system while you go off to live your dream. Right? I have problems with it. And once I read about that, I knew I probably was not going to have my daughter watch this movie. Because she loves the original. And the original has a great message about family and everything. And this just destroys that. This just takes that original message and just tosses it out the window. There is no family at the end of this. It breaks up the family. And I'm not trying to make a case for the traditional nuclear family. I'm not, people have different families these days. I get it. They have step parents, or they have step siblings, or half siblings, or single parents, or no parents with their grandparents, or they have two moms or two dads or whatever. I understand all that. But families still exist. It's not... They don't need to be erased and taken apart in the way that this movie seems to want to do that. And so we're not going to watch it. Which is too bad, because I think a lot of the rest of the movie is probably pretty faithful to the original, but knowing how it's going to end and how it just destroys the whole point of what the original movie was trying to accomplish, it frustrates me. And Disney has been doing this for a little while now. Disney has been leaning into these kind of things. And again, I'm not trying to point out and make this case that Disney is on this mission to subvert your kids and to, do different things. I'm not looking at it from the angle that there's some sinister Disney agenda. I'm not looking at it from that angle, okay? But they've had problems with multiple films. The Lion King prequel movie, they called it Mufasa because it was about the older Lion King who was betrayed in the actual Lion King film. Pardon me. I got some stuff in my throat here. And so they made a prequel about him as a cub, and him and Scar as cubs growing up. And they made him an orphan who was adopted into the royal family. Into Scar's family. Scar's natural family. Which means that Scar was right by that storyline. That Scar was really the rightful king. And that Mufasa ended up, whether he meant it or not, regardless of how innocent he might have been, he ended up becoming a usurper. And I know, royalty is royalty. I mean, there's all kinds of lessons to be had throughout history about royalty, and these days that kind of thing doesn't matter. But from a story perspective, you're taking the whole thing and you're messing it up. So if I watch that and I take it for what it is, I can't then watch The Lion King and believe that Scar's in the wrong. Yeah, he's doing bad things, but he's angry about it because it should have been his. He was supposed to be in charge. Was he more qualified to be in charge? Probably not. He still had, the sinister kind of outlook on things. Unless they change that in his character, too, with the live-action movie. Because, again, that's another one I haven't seen, so people are going to jump on me and be like, you're trashing a movie you haven't even seen. But I read things extensively, and I don't just read opinions from people who are upset with it. I read from the positive reviews, too. I look at all angles of it. And you don't need to know about what the reviews are to know what the story is. And if the story is that Mufasa was adopted, it means he wasn't the rightful king. There's facts. That's facts. That's just how it is. And people are going to be listening like, he's getting really fired up about these Disney movies. Yeah. Because they're such big, popular things. People see these. And it's not the message you want to send. I don't think so. I don't think it's the message you want to send. I don't think it should be the message you should want to send. And so with Lilo and Stitch, I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed with it. Not to say that it was one of my favorite movies, because it's just one of those movies. But I mean, knowing how the original message was and seeing the difference, I'm disappointed. So that's Lilo and Stitch. Right? Tell me your thoughts about it. I would love to hear what people think. Again, using all the methods that I mentioned just a little bit ago, you can email or you can drop comments. What do you think about it? Because it frustrates me. As someone who grew up with these movies and then now is a parent, and I have to decide what kind of message I'm trying to send to my child. Without being too strict on it, too, because I want her to have access to information. I want her to have access to different viewpoints other than mine. I want her to have access to the wider world. But I don't feel like some of these things are helping. I feel like some of these things are damaging in a way. But again, I don't want to censor anything either, so if in a couple years she's like, you know what, I really want to watch this movie. It's streaming, can we watch it? I'll be like, all right, but it's different, okay? And if you want to talk about it when it's over, we can talk about it. I don't want her to feel bad about how the differences are. I want her to be able to look at it clinically and be like, all right, I like this ending, or I don't like this ending, or this is how I feel about it, and be able to work through it. I don't want her to get baggage from these kind of things. We all got to deal with that kind of stuff as we grow and as we get older, and I want to limit, without censorship, of course, I want to limit the damage to her psyche, I guess, in any way that I can. So, it's tough. It's tough being a parent. It is. I feel like it's always been this way. I feel like I'm in a similar position to how maybe an older generation might have felt when punk rock came along. You know? Which is funny because a lot of old jazz music from the 30s and 40s was pretty filthy. It was pretty filthy. But then again, you didn't take your kids to the jazz clubs. Okay? You didn't take your kids to the jazz clubs. The jazz clubs were known as an adults-only space. So, anyway, just some food for thought about all that. The last thing I want to address tonight, and this is another thing I talked about previously. Let me actually go back I'm gonna load up Spotify here and find out what episode this was that I talked about this initially, because it's come back around again. Episode 3. Episode 3. Wow. Back in November of 2024 is how far back. I talked about disagreements in the local hip-hop community. Colloquially, I can't say the word right now. Known, anyway, as rap beef. Right? And people go, that's a funny phrase. Anyway. You remember I mentioned at the time that there were people going at each other and sniping at each other in the local community, and it getting to the point where people were getting like, I'd rather beat you up and things, not in those terms, not using those words. But I talked about how it was kind of ridiculous to me. Like, I talked about people claiming disrespect and different things, and at the time that was instigated by a person who was a member of my record label. Now, I'm going to talk about the person, but I am not going to name names. For one, I don't want to put them on the spot. For another, I don't want to give them attention. I'm not angry at this person, by the way. They're not like cut off, but I know there is a level of attention seeking going on here, and I do not want to add to that, because that's not. I don't believe in clout chasing. I don't believe in saying controversial things with the express intent to get notice or to boost your own product. I'm not into all that, so I'm not gonna name names, because again, and if anybody listens who knows, they'll know exactly who I'm talking about. So the local people will know, and the other people won't, and that's fine. But we have the guy who instigated the thing last time. He was on my label. He's not on my label anymore. The CEO of the label removed him. And I don't want people getting some idea that it was a big disciplinary thing or like a breach of contract or whatever. It was just, people disagree. People sometimes don't get along. And it was an instance of, my CEO, his buttons got pushed one too many times. And so he was like, hey, you're out. And that was it. And so he tossed the guy out. Now, I stayed friendly with the guy. I had a show with him coming up that I put him on. I had booked a show, and he was on the show, and I put him on. And he asked me, hey, I'm off the label now. I was tossed out. Am I still on the show? What do you want to do? I mean, I guess I understand if you can't or if you won't. And I said, no, that's got nothing to do with me. I mean, yeah, I'm the chief operating officer of the label. I'm second in command. And it wasn't addressed to me first, so it kind of caught me by surprise. But at the same time, whatever. It's business is business. If this was a business thing that wasn't working out, then it wasn't working out. But you're still on the show because I'm still a professional. And because it didn't involve me, then I'm still keeping you on. I just can't mention that you're a part of the label anymore because you're not. So, fast forward to a week or two ago. This is pretty fresh as of the recording of this episode. Maybe 2 weeks, tops. I don't know why this cat's yelling at me now. He's got an obsession with diss tracks, with calling out people. He's historically called out famous rappers on social media to see if they'll respond and to get noticed and things. And I didn't think much of it. I thought it was kind of a dumb, not to say anything about him and his intelligence or anything like that. I just thought the idea was a dumb idea, and I didn't think the tactic would work out for him very well. But So he goes on social media with a diss track that he made about a bunch of people in the local music scene, like a whole bunch of them. And he puts cover art up that crosses their names out all on the cover art, right? Out of nowhere, kind of just took people by surprise. And when I say it's a diss track, it means he insults them. It's a roast, right? But he goes below the belt on several people. He's privy to some information because everybody was like, "Oh, well, we were friends." He's privy to things that were said in confidence, and he uses that as lyrical inspiration. And so people know exactly who he's talking about, and they know what he's saying. And he basically insults a good majority of the local hip-hop contingent. Right? Straight up. He just straight up insults them. It's not like... And for him, it comes off like it's a joke. Like, the impression I get from it was that he was like, oh, people will all see it as a joke and they'll jump on and we'll all roast each other for fun. But a lot of people didn't take it as a joke because a lot of it was really personal. He targeted people who had nothing bad to say about him. He targeted people that he tangled with before. He just indiscriminately went out. I thought at one point that he was even saying stuff about me. And he says he wasn't, and I'm going to take him at his word for it, because he hasn't said anything since, and I haven't done anything to... I'm not even a rapper. Like, what would be the point of starting that kind of thing with me? Because the point of a diss track is to have you make the track, then the people that you dissed are supposed to make one about you and go back and forth until there's a clear winner that, you know, I've done a better job than you. And I'm not, you know, I don't do that because I'm not in that culture. But he made a lot of people upset. A lot of people were angry. Like, and when I say a lot of people, I would go around town with friends of the label, and we'd chat about it, and we'd meet other people that I didn't know just randomly at the grocery store, and they'd be talking about it. And that just... It was everywhere. The town... Every single rap-oriented person in town had known about it. And most of them were not happy about it. Like, it was not something that people saw as a joke. It was... This kid, he's younger than me by several years. This kid... had people coming on saying, you know what, if I see you, it's going down. I'm going to hurt you, from people online. And I don't agree with those methods, but I understand why people were worked up about it. I get it, because it wasn't just that you were insulting somebody on a song, because that kind of stuff doesn't matter. Who cares? Get over it, right? I've insulted people on songs, but that's just funny for me, skewering somebody, and if they want to get mad, they want to get mad, and they'll move on. If they, you know, people move on. It's not blood in the streets. But he took personal shots at people's personal business in their personal relationships and various legal things that they were going through that he knew about and stuff, and bringing them out into the public. And... legitimately, people were upset. People were mad. So a lot of back and forths happened. A few people made tracks back, talking, you know. And then he came back with some other stuff, and it got pretty messy for a few days. There were some pretty nasty comments back and forth. And then that brings us to today, and I think most people decided to just stop worrying about it and just be like, nah, he don't matter. And they've cut him off. He did more damage to himself in all respects than to anybody else. Like, his standpoint is that he was doing it so that everybody would get involved and it would bring attention to everybody and they'd all grow like in this big feud thing, and then they'd bury it, and then everything would be good and everybody would become more popular. But it's not working for him. He's being ignored and forgotten now at this point. And he's on another podcast, and I don't want to put anybody on the spot. Like I said, I'm not naming any names. I'm not going to name the other podcast, but he's a regular co-host on another one. And he went on there, and he publicly decided from his standpoint that the beef was squashed, that it was over and there was no more argument. But the thing about it is, you can't call everybody out like you did, and then also go back and decide you're the one that's going to bury the whole thing, and just, oh yeah, it's all good now, we're all fine. You can't do that. You can't decide for other people that it's over, right? People are going to remember, and people are not going to forgive you, and that's what's going on right now. I don't know if he's learned. I don't know if he's noticed. I'm sure his numbers have taken a hit. I'm sure of it. And nobody is engaging with back and forth with him on this anymore. Because now they just figured, you know what? He did it to get attention, is what the general idea was. And I don't know if that's what he meant or what he was... I feel like maybe he legitimately thought that like everyone would see it as just a joke, and they'd play along, and then they'd laugh about it afterwards. And it didn't end up that way, and now he's quickly becoming more obscure than he would have been. He was on an upwards trajectory. To be honest, he was making a lot of good moves. He was out in the public doing things. He went on a nationally recognized talent show and impressed the judges. Potentially, he could have gotten further than that. I don't know what the final word is. And I feel like he just shot himself in the foot with all this. Like, he just took all the good things that he could have been working towards, and he just tossed them out the window. And that's the problem with these kind of things. That's the problem with getting this attitude that you deserve more than you get. It's this... In the entertainment business, you have to have a level of confidence, and you have to have a little bit of an ego. If you're going to go out there and just be like, well, I tried my best, I'm going to try my best again, I hope I get somewhere. It does not pay to be humble as an entertainer. Now, does that mean you have to be a jerk to everybody? Does that mean you have to constantly puff out your chest and be like, I'm the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. I'm the Bret Hart of everything. No, you don't have to do that. You just have to have some level of, you know what, I'm working towards my goals, and I'm getting it done. And certain people might not like what I'm doing, but I do, and I'm going to keep doing it. It's that distinction that matters. But there's a point where you consider yourself so much above everybody else that you say things that you shouldn't. You do things that you shouldn't. Because you should have just a little bit more humility. Having some humility without being humble is kind of a tough paradox, I guess, but I'm in the headspace now where I'm super confident about what I'm doing. I can't look back. I can't look behind me to see what I could have done better or what I did wrong. I have to keep going forward with what I'm doing, and if something isn't working, to change it and to keep on working and just assume that it's all going to work out. Because if you don't, you let that doubt creep in, and that doubt will start taking you apart. And I've been there. I've been discouraged. I've been discouraged plenty of times. I've been making music for 26 years, and I never made it with the music. I'm at the point now where I'm just now getting notice for all of the things, all the creative things that I do. And it feels good. It feels good to feel successful. It's tiny. It's just, it's pennies here and there. But I have people out there who are doing subscriptions to my stuff. I appreciate all of that. I'm getting into a groove where things are moving forward and they're working, and I'm not going to be a millionaire overnight or ever, maybe, but it's working. And I have to just keep the attitude that what I'm doing is working. If something needs to change, I'll change it, and I'm going to keep it working because it's going to work out. But like I said, I've been there. I've doubted plenty of times. I retired from music a few years ago, and I got dragged right back into it, and now I'm thinking about the logistics of trying to create new music. So, but I just don't get it. I don't get why you would think that people would be okay with their personal issues being just tossed out into the public like that with no warning, and then that being treated as like a big joke after the fact, like, oh yeah, I was trying to help all of us. No, you weren't. Like, do you not get it? Do you not understand it? And there's long-term consequences. Like, I'm not personally mad at him because, again, it doesn't affect me directly, but I can't associate with him on a certain level anymore, professionally. I mean, I get along with him fine. We can be friends or whatever, but I can no longer trust him as a professional. So I can't book him on shows anymore. I unsubscribed from his YouTube because I can't give him more views on on stunts. I can't reward stunts like that. And I feel bad on one level because he does work hard, as far as I know. He pumps out tracks all the time. He's working towards his goal, but you can't treat people like that and think it's a joke. You know, and that's the thing about the so-called rap beef kind of stuff. Like, if you're big celebrity rappers and there's another big celebrity rapper out there that's making a bunch of money and you want a cut of that, you take a shot at him. Not like literally, you don't attack him in the street, but you cut a track because you know it's going to be popular, you know people are going to hear it, and you know maybe they'll do the same thing back, and you'll both sell a bunch of albums and sell a bunch of singles and make a bunch of money by yelling at each other, because that's business. That's like pro wrestling. It's business. You got your grudges, you got people you might not like, but you still get in the ring and you still do the thing because it's business. You're both making money. You don't have to like each other. It's business. On this level, on the local level, where people are just trying to scratch out every little bit that they can, this town in Ohio is not that big. There's only so much to go around. And trying to call out everybody and trying to claim that you're trying to lift everybody up like that by using their personal stuff. It's not such a small town that everybody knows everything about everybody. But it's small enough that, like I said, this little stunt traveled across the entire city. Everybody was talking about it. Everybody knew about it, and it wasn't in a good way, and it wasn't in a helpful way. And I hope he learned something from this. I don't know if he did or not. Like I said, I don't associate with him on that level anymore. We're not gonna be close professionally anymore, so I can't see his motivations at this point. But I hope he did learn something, and that he doesn't do that again. I don't know. I think somebody's going to take it the wrong way, and I unfortunately think somebody's going to want to get violent about it, which I don't want that to happen, and I'm encouraging everybody out there listening not to do that. But it's dangerous. It's dangerous trying to do that kind of stuff as a stunt, because people don't see it that way. But that's it. That's my that's my wheel of morality for tonight. Disney movies and rap eves. We're over an hour, so it's probably a good time to cut out. What are we going to talk about next time? I don't know. This episode, again, was pretty quick after the last one. That's because current events were happening. I almost decided to talk about what's going on in the Middle East right now and the United States political situation regarding that, but at the same time, I don't know if I want to do that, because I have thoughts about that, but I don't want to turn this into a political analysis show. I don't want this to be a show where people take sides on anything momentous like that. I want this to be a show where you kind of enjoy yourself and we talk about some serious things, but not in a way that's going to divide people and it's going to make people upset with each other. And I don't know. Maybe I'll talk about it next time. I can't say for sure. It'll be either it'll be over by then, or it'll just be another big day in the life kind of thing. You know, I mean, this kind of thing could continue. Who knows? But anyway, that's going to be it. You can tune into the show as always on here on Spreaker. You can come here directly. You can also sign up for a subscription, which supports me directly. I have a subscription from someone right now, and I definitely appreciate that. I don't want it to go unnoticed. Thank you so much. Not naming any names. I know who it is, but I don't want to put anybody out in the open. It's personal business. I don't want anybody to feel embarrassed. But you can go to Spotify, you can go to Apple, you can go to Amazon, you can go to wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, you can listen to these episodes on. And contrary to some rumors, the LTATM brand is not relocating. I know some people may have thought that, hey, there's some boasts about you moving someplace. No, we're not going anyplace. We are firmly rooted here in Ohio. We're going to stay here. We're not going anywhere. Other variations of the LTATM synonym and abbreviation are doing different things. I talked about it on the last show, but I'm not going to give it any more popularity tonight, because they don't really deserve any. But remember the various uses of the acronym LTATM stand for different things. Ours, of course, is Let's Talk About the Madness. The actual LTATM acronym can't really be trademarked in a way that specifically ties it to any specific brand, because there's so many different ways to use it. So you may see other people using it for different things, and I hope you don't get confused. Always look for Let's Talk About the Madness, and the attachment is generally for ltatm.net. That's the specific official website. So look for those two things, and you should be pretty clear that you're in the right spot. If you see other variations of that. You'll be seeing other people's content, and you know what? If you like that kind of thing, it's the kind of thing that you like. But you should just stick with us because we're really cool over here. There's me starting my own rap beef right there. But that's it. That's all we got. Tune in sometime in the near future for whatever else I got going on. This was episode 20. I don't see us slowing down anytime soon. There's always something to talk about. So let's talk about it. Have a good night.